Hey everyone, welcome and thank you for coming to our wedding. We really appreciate all of your love and support. At this time, we're going to show 4 videos, two made by Stacy and I, and one made by Stacy's best friend Lauren, and the other by my cousin Alan. They all are about our friendships and our relationships, some entertaining, some heartfelt, and we figured they would be better than a slideshow at this time to help engage you guys since you have a significant wait while we dismiss people row by row. So I hope you enjoy them and you're thoroughly entertained, and without further ado, please enjoy these videos.
Hey everybody, I just want to thank you all for being here today and supporting Stan and I on this journey through life in the last couple of months. It's been kind of crazy, but thanks for hanging in there and keeping us sane. But anyway, here goes nothing. I didn't memorize my speech like the rest of them, so occasionally I'll look down. Hopefully everybody is willing to forgive me for that. But here we go. Imagine waiting 4 hours for something you've anticipated all day long. That is exactly how Stan and I's relationship began, December 23rd, 2010. We had made plans to exchange our Christmas gifts that year as friends, because that's what friends do. So we had made these plans, and Stan had a family Christmas that day. And I was like, oh, no big deal, like, we'll just hang out afterwards. Actually, he said that, because knowing how long my family Christmases take, I would have never scheduled it on the same night. But that's me. We're talking about Stan. Being the optimistic fellow he is, we'll have plenty of time to do it that night. So, being naive and not knowing Stan as well as I do now, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll meet at 7 o'clock the day you have a family Christmas. 6 o'clock the day you have a family Christmas. So, as you may have guessed, 6 o'clock rolls around, family Christmas isn't done. Surprise! And he says, oh yeah, it'll be fine, like, just give me another hour. 7 o'clock, I'll be ready. So I'm sitting there on my couch at home, waiting for Santa to get home for these plans I've been looking forward to all day long. And 7 o'clock goes and comes and goes, and no Sandon. No text from Sandon, no nothing. So I text him, hey, you almost done yet? Oh yeah, it'll be fine, give me another hour. This continues till about 10 o'clock. My curfew at the time was 10:30 as a high school senior. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But I was like, I don't even want to go. I'm so mad. I've been sitting on my couch for the last 4 hours watching some pointless show. I don't want to go. I'm in a bad mood. And Sandon pleaded that I go, so I finally went, feeling bad for him and partly wanting him to know how angry I was. So I went over there, and he was like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to be like that, whatever. But I was there, we exchanged our gifts, and we get through them, and we get to the last box, and Sandon stops me, and he says, hey, will you be my girlfriend? Not knowing that I was about to sign up for a lifelong issue of overly optimistic time frames, I said yes. So that's how we began. And right after I said yes, he told me he loved me. And the box that I opened, it was a heart-shaped necklace. So I guess it turned out to be a really good thing that I said yes, because otherwise that might have been a little embarrassing. So, anyways, looking back on my first encounters with Sandon, freshman year when he came as Florida boy, I would say that something just made me gravitate to him. But thinking about what it was, I can't quite put my finger on it. Because it could have been his smile full of braces, could have been the fact that his hair was as long as Rapunzel's. It could have also been his whitish tan shorts that I love so very much. Or maybe it was the stories of a mythical land named Florida, where all the girls are as gorgeous as supermodels, especially when compared to the corn creatures in this desolate state of Indiana. That could have been it too. But although those are really great redeeming qualities that I so much appreciate about Standen, I would have to say it was his Spanish skills that drew me in. So during driver's ed, our sophomore year of high school, I believe, he became my unofficial Spanish tutor, teaching me everything he knows, which, according to his Spanish-speaking relatives, isn't really that much. But to me, he was a whiz, and I needed help. So I was so excited, and I got his number, and he had 3 8s in his number, and so did I. And he loves telling this story, because he's like, she said that we were like in the 3 8s club together, and it was really weird. I thought I was hilarious. He thought I was hyperactive. Miscommunication, I guess. But yeah, that was our first encounters together as high school freshmen. But anyways, I distinctively remember trying to text him about anything but schoolwork, and also denying my love for country music to prove that the two of us had something in common. Like, we both hated country music. Like, yeah, it's terrible. I don't like it either. But he wouldn't talk to me. The only thing he would tell me about is these gorgeous women that you find in Florida. And I was like, man, these girls must just be gorgeous or something. So I decided I couldn't compete with that. These girls, they're tan on a regular basis. They're in their swimsuits 24/7. I am in no position to compete, especially when the judge is a high school freshman. Seriously? What was I to do? So reflecting on this encounter with Standen, I want to share another story with you that wasn't part of my original speech, but as we were unpacking our apartment the other day, we were going through some folders from high school, and I had written Standen a poem. I started reading it thinking that it was a good poem, first of all, but it really wasn't. It doesn't make any sense at all until you get to the end, but I thought it was really funny, and it kind of went with my speech, so I thought I'd share. But remember, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, so if you're confused, then you probably understand it. But here we go. Once upon a time, there was a lad. Every day, he walked around quite sad, with something missing from his heart. He dragged his feet to the local mart. Walking through every aisle, he couldn't find one thing that he didn't find vile. Just as he was about to leave, he spotted a girl with a weave. As he started to approach her, he realized she looked busy. But when he turned to walk away, he felt a little dizzy. He started to stumble and hit the floor. The girl turned to help him, but realized she was sore. The boy eventually found the strength to stand, just as the girl extended her hand. As they stared into each other's eyes, he could tell she was a little surprised. Oh, she could tell he was a little surprised. "Do I not look as though you thought I would?" To which he replied, "I guess it's the best that an Indiana girl could." So, we laughed really hard reading that because it perfectly displays our relationship in high school. I liked him. He thought I was hyperactive. So I just decided to make fun of him mercilessly about Florida until he finally stopped talking about it. Until recently, where we go through all his Florida things again. But, we're back to the point where we like each other. And I became his girlfriend, so it worked out. Obviously, we didn't hate each other too much. So after eventually becoming his girlfriend, I realized there were many perks to having someone like Standen. He's smart, caring, honest, maybe a little too honest at times. But most importantly, he's a champ with navigation. Without him, I would be lost, both figuratively, of course, and literally. As a driver, I become a little fearless, and I get a little aggressive, if you can picture it. And these characteristics lead me down some pretty sketchy areas. Not really sure where I am. My problem is I'm not afraid to be lost. But when I am, I call Standen, and he always knows exactly where to find me. And he's helped me through many situations like that. And he's been pretty patient and always willing to help. He finds me immediately and I don't have to spend too much time on the side of the road or in sketchy parking lots or areas. You know, it's good to have someone like him. But even from Bloomington, Sandon was able to pull out his computer and find me after he eventually moved away and we did the whole long distance thing. But he always pulled out his computer, which was awesome, until he got a smartphone and left me in the early 2000s with my dumb phone. But I will say that his smartphone has been pretty good for navigation. Other than that, I can't really find redeeming qualities for it. I guess that's just me. Old technology. I am my mother's daughter. But anyways, when Sandon moved to Bloomington, we really kind of struggled to find time for each other and time for phone calls between homework, school, jobs, crew endeavors, traveling, social obligations. And if all these things weren't enough, the drive from to and from Bloomington was just agonizing. Thankfully, I didn't have to do it, but it must have been terrible for Sandon. Sorry I didn't drive as much, Sandon. I probably should have. But anyway, it's all over now. We're both in Indy, and that's pretty exciting. So during the time, we really struggled to find time for each other, and we spent time waiting, just in the car, waiting to see each other. And then we waited days, weeks, and even months to see each other again. It was really tough, and I can't imagine having schedules more opposite than ours were throughout these last 4 years and really up until the last couple days. But things are changing and it's good. But the point in all this is that Sandon and I have waited in cars, houses, apartments, in different countries, in lines, at restaurants, at school. We waited for graduation. And when you think about it, all of us are really waiting for something. We're all in a perpetual state of waiting. And it really is kind of a bummer sometimes. And I waited 3.5 years to become something more than just a girlfriend, which was really, really tough. One of the hardest things ever. But most recently, I've dealt with the waiting, or we, Sandon and I, have dealt with the waiting that comes with an engagement, which is a promise of lifetime commitment that you make and then wait 9 months or more, or whatever, to fulfill. It is as agonizing as it sounds, but God is good, and we are here today, and it is finished. So that is awesome. But there have been no wasted moments, and today with our exchanging of vows, and with all of you as witnesses, the waiting game changes. I no longer have to wait alone, and no matter what I'm waiting for, I'll always have Sandon with me to wait. And hopefully it won't be as agonizing. But here's to Sandon, a man of integrity, a talented musician, a man after God's will and God's heart, a man who's loyal, respectable, loving, easygoing, social, and fairly patient. I'm honored to have this man lead me and my future household throughout life. And if he can navigate life as well as he can navigate Google Maps, I think we're in for a pretty wild ride. Thanks for being here today, guys.
Hey guys, I hope you really enjoyed Stacy's video. Mine's going to be short and sweet, so let's get to it. There are 3 things I think you need to know about Stacy. Number 1 is that she loves to be creative and loves to dress up. Number 2 is that she is in fact not my sister. I promise. I'll explain that in a moment. Number 3 is that she really loves me, or at least I really love her. So the first story is about how she really likes to dress up and be creative. So Halloween, my junior and senior year of college down at IU, I'm involved with a campus ministry called Crew, and we have a big Halloween party where we dress up and dance and have fun stuff, and there's costume competitions there, and Stacy really wanted to be involved. and really wanted to dress up. So she immediately decided that we were going to do it, and because of her enthusiasm, I agreed to go. She decided to be Buzz Lightyear and to make her own jetpack because she's super creative like that. Rather, I would have gone to the store and purchased one like a normal person, but she just really wanted to. So I felt like I needed to compete with that, or to at least be on that level. So at the time, I was really into this show called Arrested Development. And for those of you that don't know, there is a character on there named Tobias, and he is obsessed with the Blue Man Group. So he often paints his entire body, except for a portion of his body where he wears these cut-off jean shorts, which I, of course, made. And he paints his entire body blue. So I was like, why not be Tobias? And when he's obsessed with the Blue Man Group, so I did just that. I painted my whole body except for these jean shorts blue, and I wore blue cutoffs and this weird-looking mustache and these glasses. And it was really funny because in the show there are these little blue spots everywhere, like on the walls and on the carpet and on the shower, because where he like couldn't help but touch things because his entire body's blue. And that's how my apartment was for a good year and a half after that. The next year we also dressed up, and we were like, oh, what can we do as like a cool like 2-person costume? So she was like, well, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. And I was like, that's actually awesome because I love SpongeBob. So I was like, well, I'm of course going to be Mermaid Man because Barnacle Boy would be weird for me to be. And she was like, no, I already made the belt, so you're Barnacle Boy. So I dressed up as Barnacle Boy with this tiny little shirt that was way too small for me and these blue rubber gloves. So that's why Stacy's super creative, and it's very contagious. Number 2, Stacy's not my sister. So down in Florida, on spring break, our senior years. For those of you that don't know, I grew up in Florida until I was 14. So I had a lot of connections, a lot of friends down there still. So on my spring break senior year, both Stacy and I happened to be in Florida, and I wanted to visit BCS, my old school. And she came down to Bradenton, where it was at, and we both went and visited. Now, we went and visited a bunch of different students, and then we went and visited my best friend's mom. At the time, my best friend was Daniel, and we were like, if you've seen Scrubs, like JD and Turk, where I was the awkward white guy, and he was like the smooth black guy all the time. So we were a fun, dynamic duo. So we went in to visit his mom, the music teacher at the school, and I had introduced Stacy and said, this is Stacy Thornton, my girlfriend. She's like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't think you had a sister, and I was wondering if she was your sister, but she ain't looking at you like she's your sister. And she said it with a lot more attitude, and it was a lot funnier at the time. But that's why Stacy's not my sister, despite Mrs. Magley thinking she was my sister for some reason. And number 3, Stacy really loves me, or at least I really love her. This happened senior year of high school. We were driving to lunch before our internships. We went to school half day and then went to internships. And I, for some reason, was driving a minivan like all cool high school kids do, and I had left a binder on top of the minivan. So we drove all the way to our lunch destination, got there, and I was looking at my bags and realized that I didn't have my binder. So I turned around and we drove back, and we realized that there were pieces of paper all the way littered down the street on this road that we had driven from the high school to lunch. And we spent the next 15-20 minutes picking up all these different papers, and I was like so embarrassed. But Stacy was right there beside me having a good time. We were laughing about it. It was no big deal. I'm sure to this day there are random papers with my name on it in people's yards and things. But once we got back to our lunch destination, I pulled an Adam Datema, one of my good friends. He would say that he had a girlfriend oftentimes when he was talking to other people in really awkward situations. So they would be talking about the weather and be like, haha, it's a beautiful day. And he would be like, yeah, haha, I have a girlfriend. So I kind of did that. We were back talking at the lunch destination, and we were joking around, and I was like, haha, yeah, I love you. And I just said I love you, and she was like, cool, okay, and taken aback. And she didn't really talk about it, and it was really awkward for like 3 or 4 days. So I really love her, and I think she loves me, obviously, because we're getting married. So it worked out okay. Those are my 3 stories, and I hope you enjoy Lauren's video. Thanks, guys.
For the majority of my life, I've had the same core group of best friends growing up. When Santa moved to Indiana, I was excited to add him to be part of that group. Heck, I was even nice enough to let him borrow a couple of my friends to room with him down at IU. You're welcome, Sandon. Sandon and I, being as close in age as we are, made it really exciting to finally have somebody stranded with me in the corn abyss that is Indiana. I realize not all families are as lucky as ours is. Not all families get along. let alone do they share a lot of the same interests that Sandon and I do. And while I admit he doesn't always understand or partake in the nerdy delights that maybe me and some of my other friends get into, he definitely adds his own flair to the group. I mean, without him, I wouldn't have someone to quote classic SNL quotes with or reenact classic SpongeBob episodes with, which we all know is Band Geeks, and he will be the first person to tell you that. Sandon actually got me into a lot of the music I'm into today, much to my parents' dismay, because it's loud. Nevertheless, I'm appreciative of that. He actually took me to my first music festival, which was Warped Tour, I think, in 9th grade. And we had such a good time that it kind of became a tradition where I started taking my brother and maybe Kieran or Sandon himself, and we would just go and have a great time. And maybe without him taking me, that never would have started. Honestly, I just consider myself really lucky to have had such a great group of cousins growing up, and Sandon has been a really big part of that for me. As for Stacy, oh gosh, how do I put this lightly? Well, we didn't exactly start off on the best foot. When we first met at CDYC, she developed some preconceived notions of me based off of my cockatoo-styled haircut. Probably not my best idea in hairstyle, but hindsight's 20/20, so whatever. I'm glad we moved past that to a strange relationship, but it definitely makes spending time with them a lot of fun. In all seriousness, I'm really happy for you guys, Sandon and Stacy, and I can't wait to see what kind of nonsense we get into in the future. Love you guys.
Hi everybody, I'm Lauren, and in case you're wondering why I get to stand in front of everybody, let me fill you in. I'm Stacy's friend, going on 10 years strong, and former roommate, only because Sandon won't let us live together anymore, and the official third wheel of the Viethling movement. I'm here today to tell you about how great Stacy and Sandon are. Mostly Stacy, but Sandon, you may also get your time to shine at some point. We'll see. Like I said, I'm the official third wheel of this relationship, and I may have dubbed myself that, but it's not without good reason. I've third wheeled in several avenues. In the car, at church, in the apartment, during good conversations, during boring conversations, and even during arguments. And just to set the record straight, it's not eavesdropping if you're arguing in a room where you know that I'm sleeping in the blanket fort behind the couch. Totally fair game. I think third wheel is probably just a role that you accept when you live with your best friend. Though at times I'm sure Sandon probably felt like more of the third wheel. But hey man, you win, you stole my roomie, and you know what? You can never have the cat picture hanging on our wall. Unless of course you are the one who stole it, in which case this joke has gone on far too long and it's time to return Banecat to his rightful home. 3 years living with your best friend is an incredible learning experience. At first, our act of bonding was potentially getting Gary, an AT&T worker, fired for being incredibly inappropriate with us. And then after a few months, we hashed out the issue of never wringing out the kitchen washcloth and the pain of living with not one, but 2 indoor animals, which, if you know anything about Stacy, that's not exactly her cup of tea. The second year, we had a lot of together time. Of all of our roommates, I think that year we hit the real jackpot. She was never loud, she was never messy, and she was also never there. So, consequently, we lived in a fort for a month. We spent a lot of time talking on the kitchen floor about topics ranging from our deepest transgressions to pondering the last time that we washed our hair, and we also managed to start a band, our single hit being a jingle about our address. Year 3 is when the transitions began, though. We should have known that it would be great when it all started by finding a snake living in our storage closet. You also rearranged the cabinets that year, and I still haven't been able to find my cups since then. I had no clue that this would foreshadow all of the chaos to come. But then there was that day that I forced you to go to Broad Ripple Park, and despite all of your obvious hints that you'd rather be anywhere else in the world, Sandon swooped in and stole my roommate for life. Over all this time, we've been able to open our door to anyone that we could get to hang out with us. We offered them everything that we could. like lukewarm tap water, and if they were lucky, a frozen pizza or cookies out of a package. We were known for our famous jars of candy, our ergonomically supportive couch, and the over-the-top Christmas decorations. But not all of it was bliss, Stacy. Sometimes we fought with harsh words and threats. We raced each other for the shower. We competed over control of the AC on those hot nights, and we battled for freezer space like you would not believe. But now as I look back over all of these memories that I have with you, I can't help but be sad that our saga is coming to a close. Our adventures are going in different directions, but this brief time that they aligned is a time that I'm never going to forget. Stacy, you're so much more than a roommate or the friend who lived down the hall from me. You're my best friend. You're my greatest cheerleader. You're my sole confidant and the only person that I will miss sharing a fort with. You're the only person that I'm willing to alternate pulling hair out of the shower drain for, and I can't imagine finding someone else willing to do that for me. You taught me so much about sharing our closets, our food, our many friends, our time, and our opinions, and how lucky you are to find someone who's willing to share in the joy of pulling your hair out of the shower drain for the rest of your life. Sandon, you didn't know how lucky you were going to be. Stacy and Sandon, you two are incredible. Your love is so obvious that it shows through even, or maybe especially, in your struggles. Sandon, I can't speak for your roommate skills, but you really hit the jackpot with this one. You may never know whether the dishes are clean or dirty, but she's so thoughtful that she'll make a magnet for your washing machine so that you can find out. Stacy, I hope that you take some lessons that you learned from 4909 Apartment H as you move across the courtyard. I hope that you never live in a place with locks on the bathroom doors. I hope the kitchen floor is always a place for bonding and shedding actual tears when you find out that there's no ice cream in the freezer. And Sandon, I hope that as history would have it, you are always the one who brings her a gallon of ice cream. I've learned so much from you, Stacy, over the course of our friendship. But I think the best lesson that I learned from you was one of respect. I know the respect that you have for Sandon, and I know what you're willing to sacrifice, because, you're sacrificing living with me, and let's be honest, it's kind of a big deal. But really, though, I can't wait to see what God has planned for you. Your ministry is so unique and powerful, and you're going to continue to impact countless lives just as much, if not more, than you've impacted mine. I love you both, and I'm so grateful that I've been blessed to share in this day with you and in this adventure with you. Congratulations.